Okay, so picture this, right? You're out on the water, sun's shining, you're surrounded by fish. But like, not just any fish, you're actually helping to raise them, helping to, feed the planet. Kind of amazing when you think about it. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. Aquaculture biologists.
It's a pretty hot topic.
It is. And luckily, we've got some awesome resources from RoleCatcher to help us out. We're talking their whole Aquaculture Biologists, the complete career guide.
Definitely not your average job description, that's for sure.
Not even close. They've got all the behind-the-scenes info, like what these scientists actually do every day, the good stuff, the tough stuff, even some surprises I bet you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's all like swimming with dolphins and, I don't know, playing with fish.
Right, like a day at the aquarium.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's actually a super demanding scientific field.
Yeah.
We're talking intense research, critical thinking, really understanding these complex ecosystems.
So let's break it down. What does an aquaculture biologist actually do all day?
Well, they kind of have to be a jack of all trades. I mean, they use their knowledge about aquatic animals and plants to figure out how to raise fish better. Shellfish, too, even seaweed, you name it.
Wow, I never even considered seaweed.
Oh, yeah. It's a huge part of aquaculture. But the point is, it's all about improving the process. So that could be researching new breeding techniques, figuring out how to keep the water clean, or even like how to prevent diseases in fish populations. Think of it kind of like massive underwater gardens.
Underwater gardens.
Yeah, like carefully cultivated with, rows of seaweed swaying in the current, or like these huge tanks just teeming with colorful fish.
Okay, that actually sounds kind of beautiful.
It is pretty cool. And it takes a lot of scientific know-how to make it all work, that's for sure.
So you need to be comfortable in a lab? But it sounds like you can't be afraid to get your hands dirty either.
Yeah, you definitely need that hands-on experience, absolutely.
Which makes me think about the work environment. RoleCatcher had some pretty interesting stuff to say about that. It's not exactly your typical 9-to-5 desk job, huh?
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, one day you might be in a state-of-the-art lab, and then the next you could be on a research boat in the middle of the ocean. Or you could even find yourself on some remote aquaculture farm somewhere.
Okay, now that sounds adventurous.
It definitely keeps things interesting, but it also means you need to be adaptable, right? You got to be a good communicator and probably invest in some good waterproof boots while you're at it.
Okay, noted. Waterproof boots are a must-have for aspiring aquaculture biologists.
Seriously, though, it's amazing how diverse the work can be. So we've talked about the adventure, but RoleCatcher also gets into like the reality of the job, the pros and cons. Was there anything that surprised you?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was the variety of species.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we always think of fish farming, right? But aquaculture, it's way more than that. I mean, you could be working with salmon, shrimp, even algae.
Algae.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. It's becoming a big deal, but it just shows you how diverse the field really is.
That's so cool. So you could basically work with almost anything that lives in the water.
Pretty much. But that kind of ties into another thing that RoleCatcher mentioned, the geographical limitations. Right, because you could be super into, like, seaweed farming, but then you find out that all the jobs are in, I don't know, Japan.
Exactly. Or let's say you're fascinated by some specific fish. Well, you might have to be open to relocating to where that fish thrives. Yeah.
So a sense of adventure is helpful, but you also need to be realistic about the job market. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, for sure. And you really need to be passionate about, making a difference. Because this field is all about solving problems, real-world problems.
It's about sustainability, right?
Yeah.
Feeding the planet in a way that actually helps the environment. Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're like, sign me up. What does that career path actually look like?
Well, RoleCatcher actually lays it out pretty well. You might start as an assistant, then maybe move up to research associate, and then eventually, who knows, maybe you're leading a whole team of scientists.
So there's definitely room to grow, which I think is encouraging. And you don't necessarily need a PhD to get started either.
Right. You can definitely work your way up. Some people, they might focus on research, spend most of their time in the lab. Others, maybe they're more hands-on, and they end up managing a whole aquaculture farm.
So lots of options depending on what you're into.
Absolutely. But no matter what, you got to keep learning.
That's actually something RoleCatcher really stressed. Continuous learning.
It's crucial in this field because things are always changing. New research, new technologies.
It's funny, they actually highlighted reading comprehension as a key skill. Yeah, you'd think it's all like, hands-on work with the fish.
Right.
But you actually have to be really good at reading these complex scientific papers, understanding the data.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine trying to figure out, I don't know, why your fish are getting sick.
Yeah.
You might have to dig through tons of research to find the answer.
So it's kind of like being a detective in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be curious, ask the right questions,
Mm-hmm.
and then once you have the information, that's when judgment and decision-making comes in, which RoleCatcher also mentioned.
Which makes sense because you're dealing with like living things,
Yeah.
ecosystems. It's a big responsibility.
It is. You have to weigh all the factors, the science, the economics, the ethics. It's not always easy.
Definitely not a job for someone who's afraid of a challenge. Speaking of challenges, let's talk about actually landing that dream job. I mean, the interview process can be pretty nerve-wracking, and that's where RoleCatcher's AI tools come in. It's funny, right? Like, interviews can really mess with your head.
Totally.
You forget that the people interviewing you, they just want someone who's, excited about the work, someone who knows their stuff.
Exactly. And that's where these RoleCatcher tools are so cool.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
So they have this whole AI thing for interview prep.
Okay.
And they have this massive database, like over 120,000 interview questions.
Wow.
But here's the thing. They're tailored to specific careers. So like for aquaculture biologists, they've got questions that are actually relevant.
Yeah. So you're not just like practicing generic interview questions. You're practicing the stuff that might actually come up.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Okay, so how does it actually work?
So you basically answer these curated questions, right? Like you're in a real interview,
Yeah.
but you record yourself.
Okay.
And then their AI, it analyzes everything.
No way.
Yeah, your delivery, the content, all of it. It's wild.
So it's not just telling you what to say, but like how to say it.
Yeah. It helps you figure out if you're, I don't know, being too technical, or if you need to give more specific examples. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket.
That is so cool because, yeah, you might not be up against robots for these jobs, at least not yet.
Right.
But having those really strong interview skills, that's what's going to make you stand out.
Absolutely. It's all about being prepared.
So to kind of wrap things up here, I think it's safe to say aquaculture biology, it's not just about, playing with fish all day.
Definitely not.
It's a challenging field. You need that scientific knowledge for sure. But you also need those practical skills. And honestly, you need passion.
Yeah, you really do. Passion for the ocean, for sustainability.
And we've talked about some of the tough stuff, like where you live might actually limit your options.
Which is something most people don't consider.
Right. And you got to be a lifelong learner. But at the end of the day, this is a field where you can actually make a difference, like a real difference in how we feed the planet.
And isn't that what it's all about?
It really is. So if you're listening to this and you're intrigued, don't be afraid to dive in, learn more. RoleCatcher is a great place to start.
Yeah, they have a ton of great resources.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for diving into the world of aquaculture biology with us today. Until next time.